Let's talk business. A little conversation. But this guy, he don't want to hear about it. Maybe he'll listen to you. He comes to town every Tuesday. Are you free Tuesday?
I'll talk to you later, sweetie. Okay?
Welcome back to Cocktail Cinema, folks. I'm your first favorite bartender, third favorite author, Josh Price, and welcoming in the new year with me are my good friends, Greg and Shasti.
Glad to be here, bud.
Welcome to 2022.
Absolutely.
Deuce.
We here at Sippable Opinions decided, you know what? We need to start the year off with a banger. So we are reviewing Leon the Professional this evening.
Leon.
This movie came out in 1994. It had a budget of $16 million and a box office return of $46.1 million. So decent success.
Right,
kind of
A few people watched it. Yeah.
yeah, indie film territory, but still, respectable.
Yeah, I love that the movie banner we put up right there. It's kind of an iconic Jean Reno.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he does a great job. He does a great job. You know what? Let's start there. Because I think as much as we're gonna have to talk about the action, I think what really supports the action in this movie is the emotional center of this film, and I mean that both metaphorically and quite literally, because the middle of this movie is all emotional relationship building.
Right.
So this is definitely filmed in more of an Italian style. It's an action movie, but not quite a John McClane American action movie.
Right.
It's not quite a Jason Bourne.
A little more slow moving.
Yeah.
A little
so
bit more cinematography essence of.
It's more
color.
artsy, more
Right.
artistic. So you do have even the action shots are done artistically, but the emotions and the relationships in this movie, both between Leon and Matilda, and with Stratfield, the villain,
Stansfield. Norman Stansfield.
Gary Oldman's character and his team.
And Leon and his plant.
Yeah, Leon and his
Right,
plant,
that
his
is
best
definitely
friend.
a relationship for sure. Can't get around that.
He does save the plant in the end.
We got a little bit of foliage.
We do. So yeah, this movie is really interestingly built that way, because it typically speaking, what supports the center, where a movie typically drags, is the middle, and what supports that is a powerful opening and a powerful ending. But it's kind of inverted here, where the action only has a purpose because of what happens in the middle.
Yeah, and it's really cool to watch. Definitely.
It's quite a development.
It's different. Yeah, I mean, 'cause this is the first time I've seen this movie.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I feel like an ass for saying that, but that's what I was taken off guard, because I wasn't a huge fan until I kind of reflected at the end and thought about it. Like, hey, there was a lot going on. It was different in every type of action way you were talking about, and just grabbing onto some of those huge developments and angles and color like we were talking about. I mean, it's substantial now.
Yeah, and it's beautifully done. It's beautifully done, because we're kind of looking at a hitman through a different lens, where usually he's a guy with a dark past, or he's hurt in some way, or emotionally shut off, and really Leon is just a big kid.
Yeah.
And it's like he likes to go to the movies and watch old films.
Do
He's watching
impersonations.
he's watching Singing in the Rain, and he's just having a stinking blast.
Having a good old time. For
He's
sure.
looking around for
I
people.
love that stuff when those hard asses come into their soft side, their thin candy shell. Kind of you get to know them a little bit more, and he's a tough one to do that with because of just his basic essence of his character. I mean, he definitely seemed like he took a backseat to that to kind of add to the film, but I thought it was well done. He did a great job.
I agree, and I think we can kind of look at a few modern films to see how that characterization influenced the way we make movies today. So this is 1994, and so Tarantino took some cues from this, obviously, but even more recent things like The Accountant with Ben Affleck, where Ben Affleck is he's an assassin.
Yeah.
With he's got a quirk.
That's a good
I think he's
draw,
on the spectrum, and it's a very similar type character. with very clear ties to Leon.
Yeah, I mean, definitely socially awkward. Has trouble dealing with any kind of emotion, but still still has those callings, those humanistic
Yeah.
needs and wants, and you know, just trying to get back to where he maybe
Yeah.
was at one point of his life. 'Cause
Totally.
there
They're
is
trying to
callbacks on his
recapture that
love.
childhood he never had.
Right.
And, you know, I'm going to, you know, hot take of the year. I think this is the better film out of those two. You know, but I enjoyed The Accountant. But Leon, it's a very special kind of film. Because like I said, it's very Italian. And the way they view relationships and interpersonal connections is very different.
Right.
So we've got a director who's making a film for primarily an American audience.
Yep.
That his view on things, it definitely caused a stir at the time. But when you look at it in the context of the film, we've got a man who's in his at least, you know, mid 40s or so, who's trying to reclaim his childhood, and he comes across this girl who never really had one either, and he wants to provide, but he also wants to partake in some of those childish things. He wants to dress up and do charades.
Right.
He wants to go out to breakfast. He wants to have a water fight.
Yeah, and there's one instance in this movie where he kind of has to. It's basically opening the door for that. He's looking through the keyhole or lock hole. And he has to make a big decision there, and he already is invested with her a little bit because he's trying to tell her to stop smoking. But he sees that she's getting beat up, and But it's that one scene. You know, this movie has those few scenes that are so powerful that kind of set up, like we talked about it, kind of being a little bit stretched out in the middle, not stretched, but you know, a little bit longer, slower than what we're used to, and these are the types of movies I love. You know what I mean? Like the Godfathers and stuff, where they actually.
Well, that's a good comparison. I didn't think about that.
Just to kind of to build up these characters the way that they needed to be built up. You know, to actually feel for them, and we're talking about a hitman and a basically
and a
an orphan 12-year-old who's just ballistic. You know, so
and
in order to do that, we need the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't spaced. It was spaced out very well.
I like that. And another comparison that kind of comes to mind, since you said went ballistic, Hit Girl in what is it, Kick-Ass, where she's very bombastic and ballistic, and she's got that other character that kind of slows her down.
Right.
But boys, I don't think I got my calcium today. I need to take a break.
Need a
I
little
need
milk?
a little bit of milk.
I feel like I've gotten mine already. What's in this?
Today's drink.
There we go.
Today's drink is. You know what? We're gonna call this the Matilda. I had a really schlocky name for it, but I'm gonna call this the Matilda.
Goose Island might have a problem with that, but
well,
We're not selling this.
This is equal parts rum cream, Irish cream, and Tia Maria. Now, Tia Maria is a kind of a cousin to Kahlua, but a little bit more vanilla than coffee, and just on the rocks. And it's a very boozy drink, but it doesn't taste overly boozy. It's rather tasty.
Yeah.
oh, tastes like a Caucasian.
Yeah, it definitely lands in that neighborhood.
It's good.
Which is funny because I think the only thing that's similar to a Caucasian is like the coffee flavor.
Right.
And it's strange how those flavors lined up.
Yep. So to add on that milk, this milky drink, and there's the whole movie.
Childhood
The guys,
The
childhood
creamy
drink.
center of this movie.
Yes, exactly.
It's like they're both like longing for their mother.
Yeah,
almost.
pretty much. That's kind of what it comes down to. That's a perfect way to put it. But yeah, I thought that was funny at first, where it's like, why the hell are they drinking so much damn milk in this thing? But they're just big kids, or wanting childhood.
Yeah. Well, longing for childhood for both of them, definitely. And I mean, it is kind of funny that we're pairing an alcoholic drink to this, because Leon's whole thing is never being inebriated at any point.
Right.
It's like a pillar of his character.
Milk ideally would have been
Right.
but
He would have been drinking
There's no fun
scotch
in
in an
that.
American movie. He'd had scotch, a cigar,
great.
and they'd have been in a
He's
gentleman's club
dunking his
somewhere.
cigar in the scotch or cognac for sure.
Like there's no vice in Leon's life. He's very pure. And I think that's what keeps him professional.
Mm-hmm.
And then you flip over to Gary Oldman's character,
Oh, man.
and it's all Vice. He kind of works for Vice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, man, that guy, Gary
Yeah.
Oldman, Norman Stansfield in this movie.
Dear
Holy
God.
smokes. I mean, we'll talk about Natalie Portman in a bit, too, because she gave a hell of a performance.
Yeah.
But Norman Stansfield, you talked about his, what was the verbiage you used? Non-oral execution.
Yeah, nonverbal acting.
So,
yeah.
Oh, my goodness. His facial changes.
His body
Oh, my
language.
goodness. I can't say enough about him.
It's
in this movie.
operatic.
Yeah,
It's
pretty much.
operatic.
I couldn't believe it, honestly, especially as the movie progresses, because he goes from just this introduction level where he's taking off his, and then you're introducing him just
Got his Walkman.
sniffing out this guy, and give him a hug, and he builds. And the next scene is him just literally just rolling in with a shotgun and blowing people away, like with no resolve whatsoever.
Well, I mean, he got a little bit of that benzo courage going for that one.
I think it's interesting. Like they kind of show you, an intro to his character before he actually has any dialogue. Just with that Walkman scene when he's orchestrating, he's got a talent for sniffing people out.
Yep.
It's scary.
His
You
back
know?
turned to the camera too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's shorter than the intro for the movie, but you kind of see.
I love
what
that
you're dealing
scene.
with
Yeah,
first.
and you can
I
see
love
the
that scene.
fear in
It's
his
beautiful,
second guy, his right-hand
It's
man's
crazy,
eyes, just to
yeah.
bug him during what he's listening
Yeah.
to. I'm dying to know what he was listening to. In that.
It was Beethoven.
Was it Beethoven?
It was Beethoven.
Man, I should have known.
Yeah, they comment on that.
Yeah, he talked.
Missed that
He's always listening to Beethoven, and I got a lot of respect for that. Because the things he's saying about Mozart, it's like the writer knew his music because
Yeah.
he's absolutely right. But neither here nor there.
Right.
That's
Gary Oldman.
That is a 1,000-year-old fucking argument right there. Man. Yeah,
Right?
hell yeah. I love it.
Gary Oldman knocks it out of the park, and he's one of my favorite actors to begin with. Like I have loved everything I've seen him in.
Absolutely.
Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
And even the more fringe movies like the Book of Eli, which the movie wasn't great necessarily, but he did phenomenal.
Right.
I thought that movie was pretty damn good.
I enjoy it. Well, that's another day. That's another day.
That's something I see us potentially cover.
Yeah.
But
Oh, totally. There's things to be discussed there. But Gary Oldman is always going hard in the paint,
Yeah.
and it surprised me years ago finding out that he was British.
Yeah.
Because I had only seen him up to the time the first Harry Potter movie or the third Harry Potter movie came out. I'd only seen him do stuff like this,
Yeah.
where he's got a great American accent,
Yeah.
indistinguishable from the lower East Coast, and it just a phenomenal job,
Killed
job,
it.
and
Killed it.
just kind of springboarding into our next main player. This is a great environment for someone like Natalie Portman
Yeah.
to make their debut in.
Absolutely.
Like this is a heavy caliber actor
Yeah.
that she's playing against. And I definitely think that helped elevate her craft. But, to be 14 and giving this
I
performance.
couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. I mean, you said it was her
Outstanding.
first film, and I could have swore there was one before this, but her comfort level on screen is outstanding. How were you that comfortable at 14 and like being filmed and
Yeah.
being comfortable
Under this
just-
subject matter.
especially
too,
the subject matter, But man, she knocked it out of the park as well. I
Yeah.
mean, couldn't believe it. You said she was when she casted, she was doing
The Madonna.
Madonna.
And the
Yeah, right.
Marilyn Monroe
like
person.
man,
Yeah.
just born for it.
I mean, and
There was this is gonna sound stupid. We'll put it like in the description after, but it was literally like 500 casts
Wow.
for Matilda.
Jeez.
Really?
So she got before her. She didn't
I
have
didn't
any agents or any roles at that time. It was hundreds of girls trying out for that role.
wow. I wonder if there's any like big names on that list. That'd be interesting to
Maybe
dig up
look that
someday.
Put it in the
That might be
comments.
a sip conversation.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely.
But yeah, so we've got a great cast, and those three people lead us into some of the greatest action I have ever seen because it is so emotionally charged. Like the first two scenes of the movie they're very cool. They're very fun. They're engaging. They get you. They're the hook.
Yep.
They pull you in. Leon is that guy, and then the final fight, where it takes place in kind of three locations, mostly in their hotel room or around their hotel room, where it's Leon against the entire DEA.
Yeah, right. And then they call in reinforce, bring them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
NYPD, Chicago.
Yeah, NYPD driving Chicago cars.
Right.
That was pretty funny.
And you're right. I mean, because it became, it got so personal. You know what I mean? Which is kind of something that you don't do as a hitman. So I think that's why the title is so fitting. Leon the Professional. He tried to keep it that way through the entirety, even when there's other things going on around him.
Yeah.
But he truly did have good relationship with Natalie Portman's character, and just trying to be that father figure. It got muddled a little bit there, but
well, that's to be expected with the content matter. But I do have to give them major props for the way they handled that moment, that emotional moment right before the final gunfight, because. In any other movie, it's like the good guy. He's patching himself up real quick before he does his final face off against the final boss, and he has like a big long kiss with the female lead. And if you look at it, it doesn't make sense. It's like, why are you taking the time to do this? Why did you have time to do this? But in this instance, while he's convincing Matilda to get away, they're setting up that giant gun. Yeah. So it's like, oh, this makes sense. He's actually got a moment. Nobody's rushing in to attack him. Nobody's just waiting for him to be done talking to her.
He's already taken out like 12 people as they come through the door. It's like, all right, let's
There's a logical reason for this pause in the battle. Yeah. And I appreciated that.
Right.
Because there are certain things that you have to take yourself out of reality for in this movie. Yeah. But you can, they don't even have to be forgiven because they go through the steps to make everything else so
perfect
believable.
Pacing.
Yeah.
Like
very much so.
Perfect pacing.
Yep. And that's 2 out of the 3 main characters made it, right? Natalie Portman, the plant.
And the plant.
Yeah. The plant survived.
I really couldn't believe how much of a part of this movie it was. But it was definitely at times it was like, come on. But everybody's got their quirks, but it was kind of like,
well, he's a loner,
and it kind of kept him grounded.
It's symbolism for his roots.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was the whole thing.
Well, and it's
and she's like, you're never truly free until it's never truly free until you like plant it in the park, and it can grow its roots.
Yeah,
and that's obviously one of his closing lines.
I think, this will be the last tangent I go on. I promise. I think the plant is the perfect example of why Leon is lying to Matilda, or how Leon is lying to Matilda and to himself when he tells her, "You gave me a reason to enjoy life, to love life." Leon loves the movies, and he loves this plant enough to protect it from sniper fire.
yeah, man.
He's got time to wrap up a plant and send it down the whatever.
He's already alive.
Yeah.
And it's just he needed someone to come in and cultivate what was already there.
Cultivate, boom.
And so much like Matilda helps him kind of get out of his comfort zone and grow, she takes the plant, and that's our final moment. Yeah. And it's a beautiful bit of symmetry.
It is.
Where he lives on because the things that he loved the most in this world, the plant and Matilda, continue on.
Right.
But like I said, that is the last time. I'm not going to make this any longer. Before we do taco ratings.
Yes.
Grego, any last thoughts?
Just to the viewers and listeners, watch this movie. The character development is amazing. Stand-up performances, Natalie Portman and Gary Oldman. Huge players in this one. Very respectable flick. And also really want to kind of give a shout out to the camera work a little bit on they filled the room very well. Sometimes you felt like the room was going on forever, and sometimes it felt it was closing in on you. I think that was really well done.
That's a good point.
I know Shasi was probably going to talk a little bit on coloring, so I'll let him have that spot.
Moving into that, Shasi, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I think the cinematography and the editing was great. The use of browns and tans and beiges, which worked with the dingy feel of both of their kind of upbringings, normally just gives you the sense of home, which in their cases would be the hotel room when they're on the run or in between jobs, or Matilda's apartment or family's apartment. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's supposed to give you the sense of either security, earth, and Mother Nature, or
neutrality,
or home. And I think it was interesting because they both barely had a concept of home, or at least a healthy home.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, Leon
Seriously
had
awesome
Leon
takeaway.
had Harry as upbringing him, and
Somewhat a father figure, but not a true father.
in the same way,
Not a real home.
in the same way where
Yeah.
like you could look at this in a lot of different ways, but I think
Yeah, you're right.
context with just the script and
Yeah.
nothing else aside, or everything else aside, you could say the same thing about Leon to Matilda. It was like a father figure in a obviously unconventional way,
Yeah.
but
yeah, I like.
I think that's
that.
an
I like
awesome
that.
takeaway. Seriously.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to ignore the colors after like the first 3 or 4
Yeah,
scenes, and
right.
it sticks with you, and it's heavy.
Well,
Yeah.
and there's such vibrant accents too that it like
That's how they give
it. They're every
the
like
change.
you know
Yeah.
like you know what direction the camera's gonna move by based on where the accent is. Like if the corner's in the top right hand corner, the
Starts
shot
to
is
fade
gonna
there.
pan that
Right,
direction.
right, right.
But yeah, that's a really good that's a really good point. All that said, listeners, viewers, Greg and Shasti, I don't know if you guys know, but here on this show, we like to rate our movies out of 100 tacos. So 0 being the worst, 100 being the absolute best. Greg, what do you give Leon the Professional?
So through this whole movie, I didn't really like it until the end.
You gotta reiterate, this is your first time
Well,
watching,
this is my first time, so I was definitely.
which is wild.
But I was enthralled. You know, I was moving through the movie. I couldn't look away.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it at first until the end and the closing scenes and what was basically stepping away and taking something away from it. Some movies are like that. Some movies aren't. With that said, I'll give this movie an 88 tacos because I think it was a lot better than I initially
Damn.
thought. Way better.
That's
than I
better
think.
than I thought.
Way better than I initially thought. This movie, I think, after speaking and talking and looking into it, there's so much to take away, and other directors have taken from it. So I think you have to rate this a little bit high.
Yeah, totally.
And like I said, the performances were great. So that's where I stand.
Shasti?
I give it 86
Oh, wow.
on a what I think is the best leading and supporting role.
Right.
To the point where it's hard to tell who's who.
Yeah. It's
Like
surprising.
John was a big actor in a lot of movies at this time, and he kind of played almost like a hitman in one way or
Right.
another,
Yeah.
but never like a leading role like this. And having Natalie Portman, obviously, with her career where she's at.
Killed it. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
86.
your score surprises me by a couple of points, but I might surprise you guys by saying
Sure.
I give The Professional a 91.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I think this
I
is a
kinda thought you were gonna go that
quintessential film for everyone to watch. This movie is used in like you were saying off mic. This movie is used in master classes for how to shoot action for a reason, and I think film students and film lovers alike should see this movie more than once.
Yeah.
A lot of the movies we watch,
gonna watch it again,
I,
for sure.
I don't necessarily recommend
Probably
watching
tonight.
it more than once. But it's like this, as soon as it stops, start it again and go back and relive those moments.
Right.
It's worth experiencing at least twice. Audience, hop down in the comments and let us know what your taco scores are for Leon the Professional.
I guess we should do that.
Had you seen it before? Had you not? Are we ready with Rotten Tomatoes?
We've
All
been
right, so
yeah.
all right, so we have a critic score of a 74 and a
Audience of 95.
there we go, an audience score of 95. That is a
My track
surprisingly
has,
high.
Yeah,
I think I
that's a
spilled
huge
beer on it or
difference.
something. There we go.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Especially-
That's-
But if you look, I don't think it says it. I saw it when it was in the Google thing. The audience score is 200,000.
Oh, nice.
holy cow.
Tomato meter is like I want to say like 93
Oh, wow.
or something like
That's
that.
crazy.
That's outrageous
Yeah.
that there's that many.
Well, you said in
ratings
the
is so
box
high.
office in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean,
Yeah, and I mean,
a few people saw it.
this is well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a huge like financial hit, but it's a cult classic,
Right,
and it
right, right.
deserves every minute
Yeah, I
of it.
can't believe I've only seen this movie once. I really never even.
This
put-
was one of those movies like that. All my art student colleagues in college
Yeah.
Yeah.
for good
needed
reason.
to watch.
This was like for me like we did when we did Tombstone. I said it was my first R-rated movie I saw. Like this was shortly after.
Second.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it would have been
it
the
was
same
next year.
period of time.
Yeah.
Um,
Beavis and Butthead was right in between them.
100
Love you,
tacos.
pops.
Shout him out.
Folks, thank you for being here. We appreciate every bit of engagement. If you'd like to be even more engaged and get access to our Patreon exclusive show, The Sip, you know where to find us. You know how to hop on down to that. But it's almost my pumpkin time, so Grego, thanks for being here in your own home. Rusty, thanks for coming out. Yeah. Audience, we gotta say goodbye.
I'll talk to you later, sweetie. Okay? Bye.